Right now, someone knows exactly where you are. Your phone knows. Your apps know. A camera on some street corner you've never noticed knows. And here's the strange part. You agreed to all of it. You clicked yes. And most days, you don't even think about it. But imagine a different kind of watching. You wake up, and there are 11 other people in the room. Not visiting, living. Your parents, your grandmother, 3 siblings, a servant, 2 guests, and a goat. You bathe in front of them. You eat in front of them. When you get married, your wedding night happens in a bed shared with half the household. And nobody thinks that's strange, because there is nowhere else to go. There has never been anywhere else to go. That was human life, not for a bad century, for almost all of history. Which brings us to a question that sounds simple and absolutely is not. Did ancient humans have a private life? Did the thing you feel when someone reads over your shoulder, that hot flash of "this is mine," look away, did they feel it too? Or is privacy something we invented, like the wristwatch, barely 150 years ago? The answer is stranger than either option. Because privacy wasn't invented once. It was invented slowly, in pieces, over 3,000 years, and every single time humans got the chance to trade it away for money, comfort, or status, we did. Every time. And understanding that pattern tells you something uncomfortable about where we're headed next. So let's go back. All the way back. First, be honest about how exposed life actually was. Picture the Stone Age, not the cartoon version, the real one. Your tribe is maybe 30 people. You sleep in a shared shelter, packed together for warmth, because the alternative is freezing. Every meal is communal. Every illness is public knowledge within the hour. Every argument, every romance, every failure, witnessed by everyone you will ever know for your entire life. There is no anonymous crowd to disappear into. There are no strangers. The concept of a stranger barely exists. Even the most intimate parts of life were group business. In many early societies, marriage itself was communal. Neighboring family groups would gather at special meeting places, sometimes sacred caves for fertility festivals where pairing off happened in the open, as a community event. Children born from these gatherings were legitimate, full members of the tribe. The community's survival mattered. Your personal preferences. Those were a luxury nobody had invented yet. And here's the detail that should stop you. For 1,000 years of medieval Europe, the standard home was a single room, one room. Humans and animals sleeping under the same roof in the same space, because walls were expensive and warmth was shared. The Latin language, the language of Rome, of law, of the entire Western intellectual tradition, did not have a word for privacy. The closest word, privatio, meant a taking away. Being private wasn't a right, it was a loss. Even the bed, the one place you'd think was yours, wasn't. A bed was one of the most expensive objects a family could own, so most homes had exactly one, a huge one, and the whole family slept in it. Plus servants, plus guests. Inviting someone to share your family bed was hospitality, not scandal. So the case seems closed, right? Privacy is modern. Ancient humans lived like ants in a colony and never wanted anything else. Except that's not what the evidence says. And this is where it gets genuinely interesting. The first clue is almost too small to notice. Anthropologists looked at tribal societies around the world and found something odd about intimacy. In cultures where homes happened to have separate rooms, couples overwhelmingly preferred to be intimate indoors, away from others. In cultures without separate rooms, couples slipped away outdoors. Different solutions. Same instinct. Nobody taught them this. Wherever humans could carve out a sliver of seclusion for their most vulnerable moments, they did. The desire was always there, buried under necessity, waiting for the means to express it. The second clue is carved in stone. The ancient Greeks, brilliant, obsessive geometers, used their mathematics for something unexpected. Researchers studying Greek housing found the layouts were calculated to achieve the mathematical minimum exposure to public view while still catching maximum sunlight. Think about what that means. Thousands of years ago, people were doing geometry homework to stop their neighbors from seeing inside their houses. That's not a modern anxiety, that's an ancient one, solved with the best technology available. The third clue shows up in the oldest books we have. The Quran contains explicit instructions against spying on one another. The Talmud advises builders not to place windows directly facing a neighbor's windows. And the very first story in the Bible, before murder, before flood, before anything, is 2 humans eating forbidden fruit and immediately covering themselves. The first recorded human reaction to self-awareness is, "I don't want to be seen." Across 3 separate religious traditions, the same instinct written into scripture. Even the powerful played this game. A wealthy Roman head of household who wanted an evening alone had a problem. His house was full of slaves, day and night. His solution: ordered the slaves to drag their cots to the far corner of the house. He couldn't get true solitude. Even the richest man in Rome couldn't. So he bought distance instead. And deep in the South American rainforest, the Mehinaku tribe lived in fully communal housing, everyone in everyone's business. But they built small private huts miles outside the village, just so a person could occasionally walk away and be alone. Read that again. Your body is physical evidence that ancient women had a secret life. The walls didn't exist, but the secrets did, and that's the twist this whole story has been building toward. We keep asking whether ancient humans had privacy and picturing walls, doors, curtains. But privacy was never really about walls. Walls are just the crude physical version. The real thing, the thing humans have always protected, is the secret, the hidden act. The private knowledge of what you did and who you are that nobody else gets to access. And that kind of privacy is the oldest one we have. Older than houses, older than language maybe. You can strip away every wall a person owns and they will still have a locked room inside their own skull, and they will die before they let you in. This is exactly what the philosophers eventually put into words, thousands of years later. Aristotle drew the first great line, the polis, the public world of politics and argument, versus the oikos, the private world of the household. Two spheres, two selves. Later, John Locke argued that a person owns themselves by natural right, their life, their liberty, their own mind, and that the entire job of government is to protect the space where you get to just be a person unwatched. John Stuart Mill sharpened it into a warning: without a protected private zone, the majority will crush the individual, and there is no freedom left worth the name. Every one of them was chasing the same instinct the Stone Age woman already had. They just gave it footnotes. But there's one philosopher who saw where this was all heading, and he saw it in 1791. His name was Jeremy Bentham, and he designed a prison. He called it the Panopticon, a ring of cells around a single central watchtower, built so that any prisoner could be watched at any moment, but could never tell when. And here's the genius, or the horror of it: you don't actually need to watch them. You just need them to believe they might be watched. Because a person who thinks they're being observed will police themselves. They'll conform. They'll behave. The cage does the work of the guard. The philosopher Michel Foucault took one look at Bentham's prison and realized it wasn't just a prison. It was a prophecy. Because a society where you never know if you're being watched, where the tower might be looking or might not, produces people who watch themselves. Constantly. Automatically. And you don't need bars for that. You just need the possibility of being seen. Now think about the glowing rectangle in your pocket. You don't know when your data is being read. You don't know which post gets flagged, which search gets logged, which pause on which video gets recorded, so you self-edit. You think twice before typing certain words. You perform a slightly cleaner version of yourself, just in case. Bentham drew the blueprint 200 years ago, and we walked into the tower voluntarily, and we pay a monthly fee for the privilege. The Stone Age woman kept her secrets in the one place no one could reach. We handed ours to a server farm in exchange for cloud storage. And here's the last, coldest turn, because the tower doesn't press on everyone equally. Legal scholars have started pointing out something we don't like to admit. The people with the least privacy are almost always the people with the least power. The poor, the marginalized, the ones already under a microscope. They're forced to hand over the most personal information just to receive basic help, and they suffer the worst consequences when that information is used against them. Privacy, it turns out, was always partly a luxury good. The wealthy Roman could send his slaves to the far corner of the house. The slave had no corner to send anyone to. 3,000 years later, the arrangement has barely changed. It just runs on data now. So, did ancient humans have a private life? They had no walls, no doors, no rooms of their own. They bathed, slept, married, and grieved in front of everyone they'd ever meet. And yet, somehow, they invented the most important privacy of all. The secret self, the locked room behind the eyes, the one thing that stayed theirs no matter how many people shared the bed. They protected it so well that we can still read the evidence in the shape of our own bodies. We built the walls they never had. We built the doors, the laws, the curtains, the encryption. And then, one glowing screen at a time, we invited the whole world back into the room. Start with a small brown bird. The barn swallow is what scientists call socially monogamous. One male, one female, a nest, babies, the whole picture-perfect arrangement. Except when researchers ran the genetics, they found something the birds would very much like to keep quiet. About a quarter of the chicks in the nest weren't fathered by the male raising them. A full quarter. And the females weren't cheating at random. They consistently chose the same type of secret partner, the males with the longest, most impressive tails, the genetic upgrade. They stayed married to the reliable provider and shopped elsewhere for the good genes. Now, here's the uncomfortable part. When scientists run the same genetic tests on humans, they find the same story. The estimates vary, some as low as a few percent, some as high as 1 in 10, but the pattern is undeniable. In marriages across every culture ever studied, a portion of children were quietly fathered by someone other than the husband. And just like the swallows, women were far more swayed by physical attractiveness when choosing a secret partner than when choosing a husband. The husband is chosen for stability. The lover is chosen for genes. And this isn't a modern collapse of morals. This is ancient. This is Stone Age old. How do we know? Because evolution left the receipts on your own anatomy. Here's the logic, and follow it because it's brilliant and a little disturbing. In species where females are faithful, males don't need to compete after mating. The job's done. But in species where females take multiple partners, the male's sperm end up competing inside the female's body. And when that competition happens over evolutionary time, the male anatomy changes to win it. Larger volumes of ejaculate to overwhelm arrivals. Shapes seemingly designed to displace what a previous partner left behind. Even the timing changes. Men produce more after a period of separation from their partner, exactly when the risk of arrival is highest. Now look at human males. We have every one of those adaptations, which means only one thing. For hundreds of thousands of years, ancestral women were frequently taking more than one partner within the window where it mattered, often enough, for long enough, that natural selection built the male body around the assumption that arrival had been there first. 3,000 years ago, in the Egyptian desert, there was a village you were not allowed to enter. 70 houses, one wall around all of them, guards at the gate. Intruders were likely to be killed. Egypt uncovered. Why? Because every person inside that village knew a secret worth more than gold. These were the artisans who built the tombs in the Valley of the Kings, and that made them holders of secrets. They knew exactly where the pharaoh's tombs were and precisely what treasures were inside them. So the state locked them away from the world. Because they were privy to the state secrets of the royal necropolis, they were sequestered away from the rest of the population. Egypt, uncovered Egypt. Fun tours. The village was called Deir el Medina, and it's about to answer one of the strangest questions in history. Did ancient humans actually have a private life? Because here's the problem. Inside that wall, privacy as you know it did not exist. The houses were tiny, a front room, a central hall with a single pillar, a bedroom, and an open-roofed kitchen, packed side by side on narrow lanes. Everyone heard everything. Everyone knew everyone. Your salary was public. Workers were paid in grain, beer, and rations, delivered where the whole village could count them. Your marriage, your arguments, your debts, village property. Egypt Online Tour Luxor Foru. And we don't have to guess about this, because these workers did something almost no ordinary people in the ancient world did. They wrote everything down. Because they were artists, literacy was remarkably high, and archaeologists found thousands of ostraca, limestone flakes, and pottery shards used as scratch pads, giving us microhistories, ration lists, legal complaints, shopping notes, even personal letters, family arguments, illness reports, prayers, love notes, even the first recorded labor strike in history, when rations ran late under Ramses III. The scribes recorded everything: gossip, court cases, complaints about corrupt officials. Egypt. Fun tours. Think about what that means. We can read 3,000-year-old neighborhood gossip. We know who owed money to whom. We know whose marriage was in trouble. In this village, nothing stayed hidden. Privacy was dead on arrival, except for one thing, the one secret that actually mattered, the locations of the royal tombs. That secret, surely, the wall protected. It didn't. Most tombs were robbed soon after their completion, which means the villagers were not as honest or as free from gossip as the pharaohs believed them to be. Read between the lines. The mightiest empire on earth built a wall, posted guards, and isolated an entire community for generations. And the secrets walked out anyway. Whispered, sold, leaked. The pharaohs learned the hardest lesson in privacy. You cannot lock information inside a human being. Sound familiar? Egypt uncovered. But here's the twist. The villagers who had no privacy from each other still fought for scraps of it. Despite their small size, the houses were decorated, and many homes had small private shrines, a personal corner, a personal god, a moment alone. And this wasn't just Egypt. The Greeks went further. They used their knowledge of geometry to design houses with the minimum possible exposure to public view. Ancient math, deployed against nosy neighbors. In Rome, the head of a household who wanted an evening alone would order his slaves to drag their cots to the far corner of the house. Roman law even recognized the domus, the home, as a protected space. And in ancient China, Confucian thought drew its own line between the realm of the state and the realm of the family. Even the holy books joined in. The Quran commands, "Don't spy on one another." The Talmud warns builders not to face windows into a neighbor's windows. The archaeologist plus two, different continents, different gods, different centuries. The same instinct everywhere. So, did ancient humans have a private life? Not the kind you have. No locked doors, no personal rooms, no secrets from the neighbors. But they had the hunger for it, carved into their geometry, written into their scriptures, hidden in tiny household shrines. And they proved something the pharaohs learned, the expensive way, and something every government and tech company is still learning today. You can build a wall around 70 houses. You can't build a wall around a secret. The pharaohs sealed their tombs behind guarded gates and sworn silence, and the treasure still vanished into the night. 3,000 years later, we seal our secrets behind passwords instead of walls, and somewhere, someone is still whispering at the gate.